What up, Cowboys Nation? Thanks for joining us here on Mad Cowboys Disease, following our first win of the season, 20-17 over the Cincinnati Bengals. Game-winning 50-yard field goal from Brett Maher. Never a doubt, although I was my butthole puckered during that entire kick.
Not at all. He's perfect right now. He changes his number, and now he's perfect.
That's a good number, too. I mean, that's what I
Yeah.
wore in high school. 19's a good one.
Yeah, 19's a good number.
So 1-1 on the season, feeling pretty good. Knocking out our first, what would you call it? Roadblock, hurdle without Dak. Cooper Rush getting it done, doing what he needs to do. So I'll go ahead, kick it off, studs and duds, with that man, Cooper Rush, who we have decided to call Rush Hour during our get-together on Sunday to watch the game, because he is now 2-0 in his two starts with 2 game-winning drives. So feeling pretty good. That's not the only thing. He took care of the ball. There were no turnovers. Kept the offense moving. I think in the first half, at least, obviously there was a lot more movement between play calling and Kellen. I'll get to that in a little bit when we get to our duds. But I think Cooper Rush did what he had to do, and we go into week 3 with the Giants starting the division play. 1-1 is what we definitely needed.
Yeah, absolutely. You took the words right out of my mouth. I think he did exactly what we needed him to do. I thought if they were going to win this game, they had to play good defense, and Cooper Rush can't make any mistakes. And they did just that. So it got a little scary at the end there with the Bengals coming back, but the defense held up, and through 2 weeks of the season, the Cowboys defense has only allowed 2 touchdowns, and against two good teams. So they've been impressive so far, which leads me to
less than 20 per game, which is good.
Yeah, which leads me to my first stud, which is an easy one, much like Cooper Rush, but Micah Parsons. Like, you can't say enough about the guy. He's a freaking machine on the field. It's insane.
He's an animal.
Of the 15 pressures the Cowboys had,
I'll be the first one to say.
Trey's got some connection issues here.
That wasn't a huge one down.
Hold on, you cut out there. Okay. I don't know.
No, you go for it. I don't know what's going on here.
Like I was saying before, Trey froze on us. But of the 15 pressures the Cowboys had in the game, he had 10 of them.
It's just nuts.
2 sacks for the second game in a row. He's on pace for like 30 something sacks this season. The guy, he does it all. He plays the run well. He can, run with a athletic tight end down the middle of the field. He can rush a passer. He does it. He does it all. So, yeah. And Dan Quinn, which you could, I didn't put him in my studs, but you really could put Dan Quinn in there because he is using Micah Parsons to his full potential, which is, it's really cool to have a chess piece, that can do so much, and Dan Quinn is exploiting that to the fullest.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I'm going to go back to the offensive side of the ball, and I'm going to go with Noah Brown. Noah Brown kind of coming out of nowhere. He was the leading receiver on Sunday, 5 targets, 5 catches, and actually leads the team in both receptions and yards to begin the season through the first 2 games.
Yeah,
and not just wide open balls. A couple of those catches on Sunday against the Bengals were contested. One was on a big 3rd and long situation going across the middle. Cooper put it in a good spot where only he was going to grab it. And we were all worried about first week, both of us were there, overreaction to how many receivers were actually in the receiving room in terms of veterans, guys who could be the number 1 guy. And Noah Brown stepped up. CeeDee Lamb had a good game too, but Noah has definitely exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, you could really see the connection from Rush and Noah Brown. You know, they probably get a lot of reps together on the second team in practice and through the preseason. You know, Noah Brown was one of Cooper Rush's favorite targets, so it's good to see that, you know, 4 years later, Noah Brown finally gets his game, that kind of a, you know, a coming out party, if you will.
Right.
Hopefully he continues that trend. We'll see. But as long as Cooper Rush is in there, he's going to throw to the guy. He likes Noah Brown. And, you know, like you said, CD had a pretty solid game. The funny thing is CD is on one of my fantasy teams, and they look so freaking similar. You know, CD being number 88 and Noah Brown 85, so their numbers even look similar. So
wait, who grabbed that ball?
I'm thinking CD's having just torching the Bengals, but then I'm like, oh, Noah Brown with the number. I was like, dang it.
Right.
Give one to CD, man. But he had a solid game. He had a big catch at the end of the game there to put him in field goal range, and yeah, just that's a good one. I like that Noah Brown pick. Another stud on offense, and another guy that I talked about last week, but you know, Tyler Smith has really shown me something. You know, into this. He only allowed one pressure this week, an improvement from last week, and the penalties haven't really shown their face. You know, every now and then, you know, he'll get a little grabby where you're like, oh, they can call that, dude. You put your hands inside, but he's really you know, shown up and kind of I'm not as worried and wanting to rush Jason Peters onto the field right now because Tyler Smith has been playing so well. So kind of, you know, Jason Peters can be maybe the swing tackle role that they covet, and so you got a veteran guy that can teach him some, you know, technique and help him out. But let's see, you know, let's keep the experiment rolling and keep throwing him to the wolves, and he's done well the last 2 games. So he was one of my studs.
That's what I would piggyback off of that. The last one that I'll come up with is just offensive line discipline. The way that the offensive line played on Sunday.
Yeah.
1 penalty on the offense, and it wasn't on the O-line. It was on Mr. Simi Fehoko. So the offensive line stayed out of trouble.
Yeah.
They only allowed 1 sack, I believe, 4 tackles for loss. But for the most part, they were able to keep Cooper Rush upright, gave him time in the pocket.
Yeah, and they opened some big holes for Pollard, and, you know, Zeke got in there and had a couple good runs. And
I can't remember the last time that we had 2 running backs with 2 double-digit carries or 1 apiece. I think Tony Pollard's longest run was 17 yards and Zeke's was 11. I hadn't seen that in a very long time.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Tony Pollard's 40-plus yard reception was a swing pass out of the backfield.
Yeah.
And everybody rotated over, opened a big hole for him. He went down the sideline for that big gain. I haven't seen that in so long. It's so wonderful to watch.
It's kind of nice to, you know, we've been calling for a more of a 50-50 split between the 2 running backs because they complement each other so well. And it was nice to see that come to fruition finally, where they, you know, Zeke did his thing. He didn't have, like, you know, a huge 100-yard game, but he was solid when he was in there. Pass blocked well. And Pollard, you know, he was smashing and slashing. You know, he was doing his thing. So it was good to see. They really put it together, and I hope to see more of that moving forward, because I think that's going to be the formula, especially when Dak is you know, recovering from his surgery.
Get Dak back, your Michael Gallup come back, and then you got CD, Michael Gallup, and Noah Brown playing. I think Noah Brown could be your Cedric Wilson this year.
Yeah.
Kind of the under-the-radar receiver.
I mean, you hope
I don't think
he's
he
a
can
pretty good.
throw. I don't
He's a
know.
pretty good
But
blocker, so he's got that over Cedric Wilson. Last year, whenever Noah Brown came on the field, like you kind of almost knew it was a run play because that's what they used him for. But now he's shown a little juice as a receiver.
right.
So we talked a lot about the offense. You have studs on the defense other than Micah.
Other than Micah, not necessarily. Dorrance Armstrong, 2 sacks.
He had a good
The
game.
defense as a unit.
Yeah.
Dorrance played well. Leighton Vander Esch had a sack.
I'll throw out a couple
Dante
guys.
Fowler had a sack.
Yeah. I thought
I
Donovan
think as a
Wilson
unit,
played a good game.
Donovan Wilson played great. I thought Trayvon Diggs did great on Jamar Chase. When he was covering Jamar Chase, he only allowed 2 catches for 14 yards, I think.
Yeah.
And one of them was just a great catch by Jamar Chase. I mean,
And that
Trayvon's arm was in between Jamar's hands, and somehow he came away with the ball.
Yeah, that came after the comments he made to the Cincinnati media that, Trayvon's not very technically sound.
Okay. Yeah.
He was okay, but if there's one guy on this team you don't want to call out, I think Trayvon Diggs would be close to the top of one of those guys that you don't want.
Right.
Don't give him any more juice than he needs.
The dude's a gamer. He's going to show up regardless. But when you say something about
it, they had the rivalry from college. With Jamar Chase being an LSU guy and Diggs
Bama and LSU.
Alabama, so they played each other before in college, and I'm sure Jamar Chase probably got the better of him a couple times in college. So, so there's a rivalry there. But Diggs is not a guy I would want to call out, especially before a game, especially the way he's been playing, from last year into going on into this year. He doesn't have any picks yet, but he's been knocking passes away. He's been in the mix. He had almost a game-saving tackle at the end there where he just lit up. I think it was Tyler Boyd out in the flats.
Yeah,
and didn't allow the first down.
Yeah, that third and 3 play.
Yeah, he gave the Cowboys a second chance at going and kicking a field goal to win it. So that was a game-saving play right there. And it was a solid form tackle. I love seeing that out of corners.
I'm glad you brought up the interceptions because I can't wait to hear over the next couple of weeks if it continues that way. Oh, he's not the same guy because he doesn't have 12, 13, 14 interceptions.
Yeah.
Why do we don't have to look at the numbers like that to know that he's a lockdown corner? That's what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
He doesn't need interceptions. If he's keeping people from big gains, batting balls away, I don't care what his interception number is. I would love to have turnovers. But if the other team's not moving the ball down the field, who gives a rat's ass?
Yeah, in game 1 he had a solid game against Mike Evans too. So I don't think he allowed Mike Evans more than 40 yards or something. I think I read a stat that he maybe allowed 3 or 4 catches and 40 yards from Mike Evans. So not particularly a good day for Mike Evans. So outside of that,
the only
touchdown,
The only big catch he really gave up in the Bengals game, that there was that push off.
And he was pissed. He was pissed about that.
I don't remember exactly where it was, and it was. I mean, there was an arm extension there, and even Romo and Nance called it out on the broadcast. I mean, there was definitely a push off there, and there was just no call. That's what you deal with.
The way
do you have anybody else before we move on to the duds?
Trying to think. I had a list, written on my phone, but obviously I cleared out all that shit.
Oh,
so I don't I think we got to everyone. Obviously, right before the show, I cleared out all the stuff, because that's just my profession.
Because that's the smart thing to do, right?
Yeah, of course. For my duds, I'll go with Dalton Schultz, and I don't want to kick a guy when he's down because he has an injury now, but I thought he would be more of a security blanket for Cooper Rush, and I think he had 1 or 2 catches, and one of them he fumbled the ball away, so he just didn't have a very good game. He had a decent game in the I think he had 3 catches in the first game, but he just hasn't been the same guy through 2 games so far, and now he's injured. So I don't want to kick him while he's down, but it just hasn't been the Schultz that we saw last year yet.
Right. And I think that's the thing that you're looking for when a guy's on his franchise tag. He's going to play big because he's looking for that next big contract. And generally, I mean, based off of history, that's how it works. Some guy goes on the franchise tag. He's got a 1-year deal. He's got to prove himself to get that next big contract. And you expect him to have, 5 to 7 catches a game for however many yards, be a good red zone target. Yeah. And we haven't seen it. It's still early. And maybe when Dak comes back, it'll improve a little bit more, or maybe they can figure out ways to scheme him open. But
yeah,
we'll see. We're definitely still going.
Yeah,
still going. Speaking of scheming, my first dud is Kellen Moore. And I called him out during the game. I thought the first half went very well for the offense. They were moving the ball down the field. Throughout the entire game, there was only 1 3-and-out. But when you get to the second half, that's where I think the 1 3-and-out was. And then they had a number of 4-play drives where they found a way to get a first down. But then after that, it was just kind of – it turned into run, pass, run, pass.
Yeah.
And obviously the Bengals come out, they make adjustments, figure out how to slow down the backup quarterback. But at the same time, you were moving the ball so well during the first half.
Yeah.
What did we move away from? Why?
We lost him again. Fans, sorry about that. He's got a weird connection on his end.
Apologize for the lack of connection we have here. I have no idea what's going on.
That's all right.
This has not been an issue. But anyways, yeah, Kellen Moore for me. Just figure it out for me, dog. I know we went over this last week. Find an identity. Let's stick to it. I know that we don't have our $40 million quarterback in there.
Yeah.
But Cooper Rush is not afraid to sling the ball around, and we've seen that before. We saw it last year during the Minnesota game. We've seen it this year, him coming in relief for Dak this year. Just let him play football, dude. That's all I ask for.
Yeah, and I think, moving forward, Kellen, I don't know if you're listening, but I think this is going to be the formula, like I said. Lean on your run game with that 1-2 punch. Let Cooper Rush throw downfield when it's necessary, but don't make any, bonehead decisions. Play efficiently and, lean on your defense and your run game, and they think that's moving forward what it's going to be. My dog's freaking out. Sorry about that. I think I think moving forward, that's the way that we're going to get through this without Dak. So, hopefully he sticks to some sort of identity there. You could say that, he's trying to, at least, I hope,
Right.
The first game really confused me. Like I said, he was being cute on a lot of shit, with a double reverse, in the first drive of the game, and then you bring out the fucking 2008 Wildcat, and oh, sorry I cussed. I'm sorry if anyone has
version of children on YouTube.
Okay, so yeah, but I just think he's, I think when he game plans in that first half, he has his set what he wants to do. I'm not really sure if he can adjust yet. Granted, he's only been doing this this is second year, third year doing this. So, that'll come with experience, but his adjustments need to be better moving forward.
And that might be one of my biggest issues too, is he doesn't seem to figure it out on the fly. So when things aren't going well, he just sticks with what's going on and hoping that something else breaks on the other side so that he can continue going on with what was working in the beginning stages of the game. But once it continues on, that third, fourth quarter, obviously the fourth quarter didn't get a lot of opportunities because the Bengals had a 8-minute drive to tie the game. But outside of that, I'm just waiting for. I just want more consistency out of
Yeah.
this offense, and especially with your O-line playing the way that they are. Zeke looks good, and when you get your main guys back, I want to see him open it up more. And just I've loved watching Tony Romo play. I don't mind interceptions when they happen, just as long as they're not
Backbreakers.
like that interception that Dak threw in the first game against the
Yeah.
Bucs when he threw it into
Yeah.
triple coverage and stuff like that. If you're trying to fit it into a tight window in single coverage or trying to throw it down the field and something just doesn't go your way, whatever. But
Yeah.
sling it around a little bit more.
Yeah, open it up if you need to, but try to. You're not if you got Cooper Rush throwing 3-4 picks a game, then you're not gonna get through this stretch very out on top. So what we need, we said it last week, we need him to at least split these games until Dak comes back to keep us in the hunt. The Eagles just play, they look pretty good.
Eagles
the Giants,
are 2-0.
Giants are 2-0. Yeah, so the division is going to be a tight race like always, but as long as we can stay in it, keep it within a game or two, that toward the backstretch when Dak comes back, that's all you can hope for.
Right.
My second dud it's kind of nitpicky because they did have a good game. It was better penalty wise, but these bonehead penalties this time on defense with I think there were 2 unnecessary roughness calls where one of them was Burrow was obviously sliding and then Donovan Wilson comes and just throws his shoulder into him. Like, come on, dude. Like that's 15 yards right off the top that you had him stopped. You're just extending drives at that point. And I think Anthony Barr had another one where it was on the sideline and he hit him too hard. I don't know. But yeah, those kind of plays, like they shouldn't happen. And that's a nitpick, but it's also on the coaching staff to clean that up. And granted, on the offensive side of the ball, they cleaned up the penalties, so good on them. But that kind of stuff where you're just giving free yards to teams is not gonna fly.
Yeah, that was going to be my dud too, was discipline. Both of those plays, Burrow was already on his way down. Anthony Barr's, I think, was worse than Donovan Wilson's. But at the same time, quarterbacks going down, you just can't touch them.
The league protects quarterbacks, so just
hell yeah, they believe in offense, so they're going to take any little thing that they can find.
Yeah.
Out of the 5 penalties, and again, we mentioned only 1 false start on the offense. The other 4 belong to the defense. But at the same time, I mean, I'm not upset.
Yeah.
5 penalties for 45 yards, and 2 of them were super big ones. So, I mean, obviously it does play a role, but there was nothing that hampered the offense. And outside, I think Donovan Wilson's was the one that extended the super long drive that they had in the second half. But other than that, when you're looking at a team that gets penalized as much as they do over the last 19-ish games, to come in 45 yards,
and only have 5, that's great.
Is just fantastic, and I could not be happier.
Like I said, I'm not going to nitpick a win. They cleaned it up better. And you're never going to have a perfect game, but those kind of penalties are avoidable. So that's where I kind of take a little issue with it.
So going into next week, get the Giants' first road test of the year. They're 2-0.
Yep.
How are we feeling with Cooper Rush leading the charge again?
You know what? I've been harping on it all, show, but lean on your run game, play good defense, and this Giants team, they're playing well. They got a pretty solid defense, but this offense runs through Saquon Barkley. So if you key on him and stop him, put the ball in Daniel Jones's hands with a receiving core that really doesn't have a stud, I'll take my chances all day on that. But as long as Saquon Barkley doesn't, become a world breaker and kill this team, I think we got a good chance of coming away with another win.
Yeah, I think they did a good job of keeping Joe Mixon under wraps. Didn't do a good job in week 1. That was the only thing that really, I think, hurt the defense into allowing 19 points to the Bucs. Leonard Fournette went off for over 100
Yeah.
yards, but Tom Brady
And
isn't quarterbacking the Giants. So
a lot of that had to do with, the offense really wasn't doing anything, so the defense was on the field a lot longer, so they're getting
oh
tired.
yeah.
But if you let this Giants team dictate how long they're on the field with Saquon Barkley, then it's going to be a long day again for the defense. But if they can bottle him up to, keep him under, 80 yards, I think it'll be a
Right.
good day.
I agree. You got anything else before we take off?
No, I mean, the Eagles are playing pretty well. Jalen Hurts is playing pretty well, but he's not better than Dak. I'll say that.
And neither is Carson Wentz. I don't want to hear any more of that crap.
There's some hacks on Twitter that I got into it with a little bit, but I'll die on that hill every day that Dak owns the East.
You come in and you play a Lions team that can't remember the last time they had a winning season, and you take on a Vikings team that has been shaky and inconsistent for however many years now. So, yeah. I mean, not to take anything away from them, they're putting points on the board. Their defense is playing well. I think they only gave up, by the time I left softball, we had the game on in the car or in the dugout, but it was like 27-7 or something like that.
Yeah,
so, their defense is playing well.
I was hoping a little more from the Vikings. Maybe. God, I can't stand Eagles fans. Anytime I can put them down a peg, I'm gonna take that.
It'd be nice.
So I was hoping a little bit better showing from the Vikings, but that's all right. We play them in a few weeks, and we'll shut them up then.
Right. Love it. I hope so. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Those of you watching on YouTube, you got the handles right there for Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Come and find us. Follow us. We follow back. For those of you listening on Spotify, at Mad Cowboys Pod. For Twitter, Mark is MBoynton78. I'm Trey D. Warren. We appreciate you joining us, and we will be seeing you guys again soon, hopefully after another Cowboys victory on Sunday. We'll see.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate you guys. We'll see you later.
All right. Take it easy, y'all.